Things you're going to need to change these filters are an empty bucket that you can use to put underneath the filter housings when you crack them open, because they are going to leak out water. You're also going to need a second bucket. Now you could use the same bucket that you emptied the water into from the filters, but you're going to want to swap out that water with some clean warm water. But anyway, you want about a tablespoon of bleach inside of a gallon of warm water and a sponge. So you're going to use that to clean out the inside of the filter housings before you put the new filters inside. That way you can ensure that the inside of these are nice and clean, and we're starting again from like ground zero again with brand new filters and nice clean filter housings. And I also recommend you use some gloves, and you're also going to need a filter wrench. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to shut off the water supply to these filters. Okay, so on my system we have a ball valve right here. So the way the water flows in my system is in this direction. So I want to shut off the water in that direction first. So you turn the valve so the handle is perpendicular to the pipe. Then I'm also going to close the water on the outlet of the system. Closing this prevents water that's up inside of the piping already, when you disconnect these filters, from flowing back down through the pipes and then just like pouring out from the pipes. Now when I did the install, and you can review the original video, but what I did was I plumbed in a bypass so my home could continue to receive water if there was one, an issue with the filters, or two, while I was changing out the filters. So if somebody upstairs goes ahead and flushes the toilet or something like that, they're still going to get water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the bypass valve now. So I have my empty bucket here, and the first step that I'm going to do now, put this directly under the first filter housing, which is going to be the sediment filter, and I'm going to place that under there to capture any water. There are 3 buttons located on top of the system. Each button is a pressure release for each of the filter housings. So it's very important that you press this button to release the pressure in the system. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to loosen this housing off of the bracket. Like, it's going to be tight. You'll never be able to loosen it. All right, so first thing you got to do is push this button. You see the pressure gauge drop, indicating that there is no more pressure left in the system. Also, a little bit of water squirts out. That's normal. It's supposed to happen. So now we have total pressure drop across the whole system, and we're at 0. So now these housings should be able to be easy to remove. So you always want to loosen something by turning it counterclockwise, or lefty, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So something like a filter housing, the same rule applies, but essentially just remember that I'm going to have to pull this handle towards me if I'm standing in front of the system to loosen it. Oh man, it's still tight. All right, there you go. So it just broke free. Now once it breaks free, it's going to be easy to loosen up by hand. The way I like to do it is I hold a hand underneath the housing, and I use my other hand to unscrew it. And the reason why I do this is because once it completely lets go, you're supporting the housing from the bottom, and it prevents you from just dropping it completely. So now it's just about coming loose now. See all that water pouring out? That's exactly the reason why I put an empty bucket underneath. Take it out and lower it into the bucket, and just go ahead and pour the rest of the water into the bucket. See this on my glove right here? That's essentially iron and a bunch of sediment that this filter prevented from going into my water piping. You can actually see it on the top of the filter. That's all sediment right there. A lot of metals from the ground. So that all would have been inside of our drinking water, the water that we shower with, the water that we wash our clothes with, if I didn't have a sediment filter. So it's definitely a recommended purchase. So now to remove the other filter housings, same exact process. Now we have the housings empty. We're just going to wipe down the inside and clean them with this, the bleach and water solution. Housings are nice and clean now, and just going to go ahead and wipe the top of each O-ring. And if any of these O-rings came out during the removal of the housings, not a big deal. All you just got to do is go ahead and place them back in to the groove inside of the top of the housing. Now it's time to put your new filters into your housings. Sediment filter is the first one. That goes into the clear housing. All right, so you want to make sure that's centered as much as possible. The next one is the granulated activated carbon. Make sure the top is facing up. The top has this white rubber gasket right here. This has to face up. It also has open and close, which you don't touch this. You don't remove this cap. It even says right here, please don't open this cap. If you open this cap, you're gonna expose the granulated activated carbon, and you don't wanna do that. So this one, go ahead and place it right in there. Same deal. Last but not least is our activated carbon block filter. Just go ahead and place that one inside as well. And that's it. They're all placed inside the housings. Now they're ready to install back on the bracket. Okay, remember last time when we loosened this, we turned it counterclockwise? Well, this time it's completely the opposite to reinstall it. So when you're really reinstalling this one, the filter's going to want to rock back and forth. You want to be careful to keep it nice and centered and go right up into the threads nice and straight. So just get it hand tight first. Once you get it hand tight, take the filter wrench, raise that on there, and go ahead and snug it up. These you want to snug up pretty good, because if you don't snug them up good enough and you turn on water pressure, you'll know about it. If you're lucky, the water will just drizzle and drip out. If you're not lucky, worst case, you'll get water squirting out. Now you install the next two filter housings the same exact way. Okay, now that the filter housings are reinstalled onto the system, all you gotta do now is test it out, make sure there's no leaks. And the way you do that is by opening up the water pressure again. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna turn off my bypass valve first. Then I'm gonna open up the out end of the system. And then I'm gonna open up the in end of the system. That always freaks me out. You can see water filling first into the outside of the filter housings. So now essentially it's going into all three, and you can see the pressure start to rise in the entire system. By now, we would know if there was a leak or if they weren't tight enough, because when you have a leak in one of these, it typically starts leaking right away. So after a careful inspection, I would say that these are successfully installed. All right, so at this point, you're like over 90% done with the whole process. The only thing left to do now is to flush out the system. So what you're gonna do is go to your nearest faucet, turn on the cold water, and let it run until it becomes clear. All right, that should only take like a couple minutes, usually pretty quick. Then after that, you're gonna let it run an extra 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, shut it off, wait 30 minutes. And then you go ahead and turn on that same faucet again and let it run for another 10 minutes. That's gonna be your final flush. And then after that, you're good to go. Good to go for another 6 to 12 months or another 100,000 gallons.